He was by far one of the biggest deer I had seen on the property.
We said, please have high rise coming right through there and into our set.
I began to assume someone may have harvested him. I caught movement down to the bottom, didn't I, though? So High Rise is a deer that showed up last year around July. He was by far one of the biggest deer I had seen on the property. He was a giant 8-point and a perfect typical buck. Both sides of his rack seemed to match in length and in width.
High rise was huge. I was really hoping we could get him.
Once 2020 bow season started, I hunted him hard for several days.
We started out early in the morning on October 30th in a search for high rise. After sitting in a blind all morning, we'd encountered a few nice bucks and several does, but no high rise was in sight. We finally left with my tags in hand. We didn't go back that evening due to other plans for Halloween, but planned on a fresh start for high rise the following morning. The next morning, arrived at the farm with my friend who wanted to come along and watch. It was a beautiful morning with bright moon to guide us to the blind. As we made our way along the pasture and entered the woods, I could hear deer moving around. My heart sank in fear it was high rise making an escape.
As we walked into the woods, I could see a smaller bodied deer, what do you say, running through the woods, zigzagging along through the trees. Not far behind her, I could see a large body and a large rack just perfectly shining in the moonlight. And I just knew that was High Rise. Once again, High Rise was one step ahead of us. He had beat us to the blind. Despite on how early we were entered the woods trying to beat him. Later that morning, Lily harvested a beautiful 8-point buck though. So we had a successful hunt, we had a good time, and her friend got a good show.
Even though it wasn't high rise, I was very pleased with the buck I harvested. It was the biggest buck I've been fortunate to harvest so far, and boy was Dad proud.
Of course I was proud, bud.
WGO Outdoors is brought to you by Scott's Wildlife Taxidermy. Bring your harvest to life. Fire in the Hole Broadheads. Experience the 4-inch cut.
After that, High Rise disappeared and wasn't observed the rest of the season. I began to assume someone may have harvested him, and I mean, what a magnificent creature, so of course anybody would have taken him if they'd seen him. But I never heard of any neighbors harvesting, nobody else had seen him, nobody else had him on camera, so I mean, he could have just moved away. But I had hope for maybe one day he was still out there and that we'd get to see him again. But lo and behold, July 2021 arrives and boom, High Rise is back, but even bigger and no longer an 8-point. Now he's a 10-point with a perfect little kicker there on his little hook on his right brow tine. We continue to get pictures and videos and trail cameras of High Rise, and I watched him grow into a beautiful buck as throughout that velvet season. The only problem was the pictures were all at nighttime, so I was feared that he'd just become nocturnal. The first Saturday of bow season, Lily and I set out to see if we could get a chance to see High Rise. That morning we had several different deer come into the set. We even got to watch a beautiful 8-point that we just might look into next year, give him a little bit to grow. Heard some turkeys gobble not too far away, but never had the pleasure of seeing them. Around 9 o'clock, the deer activity stops and the coyotes came out to play. The coyotes came into about 15 yards, and I would have loved to have put one down.
But Dad was asleep.
Yeah, it happens. We all get tired. After activity stopped, we decided to call the morning and head back to the house for some much needed rest before the evening adventure. We headed back out that afternoon and climbed in the tree. Several hours went by without seeing a single deer. Just when I was starting to get a little worried, I caught movement down in the bottom, didn't I, Lil? All I could see about 200 yards away was a big bodied deer. moving through the trees and the brush. I told Lily, I said, can you see him? And she had a hard time finding him there for a while.
It took me a while for a pretty big buck.
Yeah.
Couldn't find him anywhere.
Yeah, we couldn't really find him. Finally, it got to a little bit of an open spot and stepped out, and all I could see was a rack stand up, and I thought, this has to be high rise. But, and I mean, it was very exciting because he was kind of making his way our direction, and I thought this might just happen. I mean, we still have plenty of daylight left. I'd say probably an hour and a half. And lo and behold, we finally got to see High Rise in person, so we was really excited about it. Couldn't get any camera footage of him. Down there at the bottom was just too thick. He was behind trees all the time. We could only catch a glimpse of him once in a while. I even had a hard time keeping him in the binoculars. We watched him walk up the hill away from us, which kind of was really a letdown because he's going directly away from us and didn't act like he had a care in the world to come up our direction. So it was pretty discouraging watching him walk away. But I looked up at Lily and I said, well, he's gone, but at least we got to see him in person. But I said, just in case, I said, keep an eye to our left here. There's where the pasture is. There's an opening there, and I told Lily to watch that just in case a miracle was to happen. And within an hour, he could walk all the way around the farm and make his way to us. But I truthfully thought there was no way that was going to happen. Maybe 30 minutes goes by, and I was looking straight ahead, watching where High Rise was, and dreaming about, boy, if he'd only come back down that hill and come our direction. And then next thing you know, out of nowhere, I hear, Dad, Dad. I look up at Lily, and she's pointing and saying, Dad, Dad. And I look, and I can't believe my eyes. High Rise is running right at us. I mean, hardcore running. I don't know if something scared him, or if another buck chased him off, or what happened. But he's coming right into our set, and he's running as fast as he can.
After Dad told me to watch that entrance, I said a prayer to God and said, please have High Rise come right through there and into our set. And the good thing was, he did.
I said God was listening, bud, because it was truly a miracle. He came right on in, running full straight ahead, maybe 30 minutes of light left. He ran in front of me and stopped behind a tree at about, I'd say, 40 yards.
The funny thing was, I'm like, maybe he'll come back. Maybe something will spook him our way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's why he came running. Something spooked him, and just thank goodness he did.
Yeah. But he came in about 40 yards and stopped behind a tree. So I grabbed the crossbow. I was using a crossbow that day, and got it up, and he took a few more steps from behind the tree, and I kind of grunted at him a little bit. He stopped, looked right at me, and I let the arrow fly, and heard that balloon pop, and he did a little bronco kick and ran. I'd say he probably ran about 25 yards, and then stopped and just started walking. And while he's walking, he's wagging his tail, got his head up high. This deer's acting like nothing even happened. So at this point, I started getting some disbelief, that, well, did I make a bad shot? Did I miss? What's going on? So I look up at Lily and I said, did I hit him?
I'm like, I'm pretty sure you did. I mean, it hit him, and not too high, not too low, but right in the middle behind the shoulder, which I was really happy that he was right there, and I was just happy that we had the chance to at least shoot at him, even if we did miss.
When she told me that, I kind of felt a little sense of relief, but at the same time, I'm still doubting myself. So I turned my eyes back to High Rise to watch where he was going to go. As he started to crest over the hill, I kind of started to see a sway in his body, and I knew at that point that I had made that my arrow had reached his target, and that he was going to go down. And what a special moment! I mean, we was excited. I think we high-fived in the tree maybe 10 times. I was so happy that I had hit the High Rise and that he was going to go down. At that point, I looked up at Lily and I was like, did you have the camera on?
No, it happened so fast I didn't have time. I had 2 seconds to get the camera ready.
Oh well, what a memory we made.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we got that with us forever. So that, even though we didn't get it on film, I'm glad that we got to experience taking High Rise together, and boy was that an exciting night. We got down out of the stand, just went over to see, what blood situation looked like, see if we could at least locate the arrow, to see what kind of blood was on the arrow. That way I kind of knew what to look for, maybe how far high rise would go.
He's like, look, do you see the arrow? I'm like, I do. And he's like, okay, let's go check it out. And we did, so.
Right. We found the arrow, and there was blood on the arrow. It looked like, you know, some good blood, had a little bit of blood trail on the ground. So we decided to walk out, knowing he was down somewhere, and we didn't want to jump him up or push him or anything. So we just let him lay, and we go get some help, and then come back and try to locate him and retrieve him. Once we returned, after we got some help to go find him, we found a really good blood trail. I mean, I was really impressed with blood trail, and it was kind of spotty where he was running, but once you got to that 25 yards where he was just walking, it was just
trail.
straight stream of blood. I mean, he was draining pretty quick. Walked down there, followed the blood trail all the way to the creek, walked down the creek, and then looked up, and I mean, 5 feet in front of us, there he was. And it's almost like he ran straight back where we had first seen him, like he was trying to go back to a bedding or something to, you know, to take some shelter. But he didn't make it very far. I'd say probably 100 yards from the shot.
I will never forget that day. Can't wait for our next adventure to see what happens next time.
I can't wait either, though. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and follow WGO Outdoors on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have fun out there and stay safe.